Good evening po sa ating lahat. Napakahalaga po sa ating mga Pilipino ang pamilya, di po ba? Ginagawa nating lahat para sa kapakanan ng ating pamilya. So bilang Christian leaders or teachers, may tungkulin po tayo na turuan at tulungan ang ating mga nililit na pamilya. So para umayos ang kanilang buhay, gumanda ang relasyon ng bawat isa. Kaya sa gabing ito po, matutunghayan po natin ang isang kwento ng isang lingkod ng Diyos kung ano po ang kanyang puso sa pamilya.
Well, I was a professor of pediatrics at USC School of Medicine in the divisions of child development and genetics, and those are my fields. And I was happy there, was doing research. I really could have been happy there the rest of my life. But I saw the institution of the family falling apart. Even back then, in the 1970s, there was a tremendous attack on what it means to be married, raising godly children. And I just felt like I ought to do something about it. So I did one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. I walked out of there and left the perks of academia, where I was very comfortable, and started a little two-room, a little office. We called it Focus on the Family. It was a little two-room office with a half-time secretary, and I didn't know if the phone would ever ring again. So.
Si Dr. James Dobson ay lumaki sa Amerika sa pamilya ng mga pastor. So, ang kanyang ama ay isang traveling evangelist at siya ay nag-iisang anak nito. Lumaki siya na maayos sa kabila ng kanilang kakaibang sitwasyon.
My dad was gone a lot, and my mother raised me. She was a great, great mother. Like a lot of kids, when I turned 16, I began to think I knew more than she did. And I had been out somewhere. I didn't do anything really bad. I won't even tell you what it is. But I came home, and she said, I know where you've been. And I said, right. And I said, I'm going to do it again. And I'd never taken her on like that. And she looked at me and she said, what did you say? My dad was 1,000 miles away, and she called him. And while I was standing there, she had a simple message for him. She said, I need you. And to my shock, my dad canceled a 4-year slate of revival meetings. 4 years, and said, I'm not doing that anymore. He got on a train and he came home.
That decision changed everything for the young Jimmy.
And my dad, by making that sacrifice, invested in me. We hunted, we fished. He was with me. He pulled me back from the edge, Wendy, and he and the time I was an only child, so the time with my mother and dad was idyllic.
Na-realize ni Dr. James Dobson na siya pala ay tinawag ng ating Panginoon para maging isang Christian psychologist. Sa panahong yon ay hindi pa kinikilala ng simbahan ang larangang iyon. Kaya naman siya ay nag-aral ng psychology sa Point Loma Nazarene University. At siya din ay kumuha ng PhD psychology mula naman sa University of Southern California. At pagka-graduate naman niya ay pinakasalan na niya ang kanyang schoolmate na si Shirley. So, kaparehas pala namin ng love story ng aking ex-boyfriend, schoolmate ko din noong college. So ngayon, sa panahon ito, nagsiselebrate na sila ng 60 years wedding anniversary na praying na malagpasan din namin ng aking asawa ang golden anniversary at mas marami pang taon. Naging challenging talaga ang kanilang buhay mag-asawa din kagaya ng karamihan din sa atin.
but it was such a romantic time for us. We took a 7-day honeymoon up the coast of California and returned with only $100 between us. And a few days after getting home, we both started teaching in public schools, but we knew we weren't going to get a paycheck until 5 weeks later. So we had $100 to take us 5 weeks to feed us and meet all our bills and put gasoline in the car.
Do you remember we ate fake tacos with weenies and tortillas and pork and beans and other cheap stuff like that for probably almost 5 weeks?
Yeah.
And our tiny little apartment was only $65 per month because Jim watered the lawn and took out the trash, which brought the rent down.
We had absolutely nothing in those days, and it really did look for a while like we were going to keep it, but it was a very special time.
We cooked together after teaching every day, and in the summer, Jim worked at a hospital for the mentally disabled. He enrolled in graduate school the next fall, and we began a lifelong pattern of working almost 80 hours a week. We were exhausted most of the time, but there was one occasion that I want to tell you about because it is very precious to me, very special. About 2 years into our married life, Jim became concerned because we had had almost no time alone together. One night he asked me to take a walk with him, and on that stroll, he told me he missed our quiet times together too, and he was going to take a semester off from graduate school so we could reconnect with one another. That was a big sacrifice for him because he was a highly dedicated student, and taking time off from USC was his way of telling me that our marriage meant more to him than his professional ambitions. And I think I cried when he told me that. But there's never been a time in our 55 years of marriage when I have felt neglected by him. I would marry Jim 1,000 times over, and I truly thank God that He gave us to each other for a lifetime.
Meron silang dalawang anak, si Dane at si Ryan. Si Dane isang children's writer, samantalang si Ryan na isa siyang adopted child ni Dr. DOBSON ay kagaya na rin ng kanyang ama na si Dr. DOBSON na isang parenting speaker.
A lot of people ask us about what it was like growing up in the house of James Dobson. And up until the 6th grade, very normal. Kind of like any other family out there. I didn't know we were famous. I didn't know my parents were famous. I just thought they were mom and dad. And one day in school, in the 6th grade, we had a substitute teacher. She was taking roll, and she said, "Ryan Dobson." I said, "Here." And she goes, "Oh, like Dr. Dobson." And I go, "Well, yeah, that's my dad." And she said, "Oh, honey, I know you wish he was." And I thought, what a weird thing to say. Like, this is just my parents. And I didn't respond. And in that instant, the whole classroom erupts, and everybody's going, "That's his dad. His dad's James Dobson." And I thought, why does everyone know who my dad is? What's going on? And then she got really embarrassed. I couldn't understand that. I mean, I'm just a regular 6th grader. The next day I show up at school, still have a substitute teacher, and now she's got a stack of my dad's books for me to bring home for him to autograph for her. And I thought, what is going on? And that was kind of the floodgates opening. I didn't know that all the carpools were listening to my dad's show every day on the way to school, that he was telling stories about us. And apparently that was the trigger that let everybody know, like, oh, now we can talk about who your dad is in front of you. And that was a little strange, I gotta be honest. And I run my own ministry. And so there was that kind of trepidation of, I think I can help people, but I grew up with a family of experts. And I'm not an expert, I'm a parent. I'm a husband. I fail all the time. I'm stumbling through life just trying to get a little better every day. My dad was an expert.
Pagka-graduate ng college, siya ay naging isang associate clinical professor sa larangan ng pediatrics at naging isang expert naman sa larangan ng child development and medical genetics. Ngunit dahil sa malaking pagbabago kinakaharap ng pamilya noong 1960s, lalo na dahil sa pagiging normal na ang permissive parenting, si Dr. DOBSON ay tumugon sa calling ng ating Panginoon.
I left USC. That was a plum of a position. I was doing what I loved, what I was trained for. I was doing research, and I think we were accomplishing a lot. I was director of a national study in 15 major medical centers of a disorder called phenylketonuria, and I could have enjoyed staying there, but I saw the family unraveling. I don't want to sound like Father Time here, but I saw where we are today. I recognized what abortion was going to mean, and what the assault on the definition of marriage was going to be, and what the attack on righteousness was going to be. And I just felt the Lord put His hand in my back and say, you need to do what you can.
Dahil doon, sinimulan ni Dr. DOBSON ang kanyang libro na pinamagatang Dare to Discipline. At ito'y naging bestseller na umabot sa 3 million copies. At nilagay pa ito sa White House Library. O, diba sikat? Ang librong ito ay may naisin na ituro kung paano balansehin ang love at order sa ating tahanan. Rumami rin ang kanyang speaking engagement na ginamit niya ang librong ito upang ituro ang tamang pagpapalaki sa mga anak at pagmamahal sa asawa. Ngunit sa kabila ng kanyang lumalaking impact sa ministry, tila mayroon na rin siyang nakakaligtaan bilang haligi ng tahanan.
I was neglecting my own family. And my dad saw it, and he was on the way to Hawaii, and he wrote me a letter, and then he said, if you don't have time to invest in them and pray for them, you'll lose them.
Dahil dito, nag-produce siya ng mga videotapes para sa mga simbahan na tinawag niya na Focus on the Family. Pagkatapos nito, sinimulan na rin niya ang isang radio show sa 37 na radio station sa Amerika. Kadalasan noon, ang mga Christian show ay kung hindi man preaching ang tinatalakay, mission update. Itong Focus on the Family ay ibang-iba dahil nakafocus lang ito sa practical na advice sa kung paano magiging isang mabuting membro ng tahanan ang bawat mananampalataya. Ngunit tulad ng lahat ng nagsisimula, dumadaan rin sila sa panahon ng matinding pagsubok.
I had a whole lot I needed to learn. My background at the medical school did not prepare me for Christian radio, but I learned and I listened, and I brought people together for lunch around a big table. I put a microphone in the middle, and then I took what they all said back to my secretary and had her type it off, and I studied it, and I began to learn what I was trying to do. Well, the only way we could start the radio program and do what I thought God was calling us to do is to have a certain amount of money from somewhere, and so I went to Tyndall House Publishers. I was thinking about writing a book, and it's all I had to bargain with, and so I bribed him, and I said I would give him my book if he would not pay me in advance, but to give us money as a form of a grant that I didn't have to pay back. It was $35,000, and Tyndale agreed to that, and that got us started, but that didn't last very long. Mother, who's gone on to be with the Lord, Shirley and I and Jim Davis went into the bedroom. We closed the door. I don't know why, but we did. We got on our knees, and I remember my prayer as though it were yesterday. I said, Lord, I thought I heard you when you asked me to do this, but I may have made a mistake. But if you're in this would be a real good time to hear from you. And that was October of 1979, and $60,000 came in the next month.
Wow.
And we really never looked back from that point on.
At sa edad na 41, iniwan niya ang kanyang comfort zone sa paaralan at hinarap niya ang bagong hamon na alam niyang tinakda at binasbasan ng Diyos. Dahil sa patuloy na pananalig ni Dr. Dobson sa plano ng Panginoon sa kanyang pagkatawag, ginamit ng Diyos ang focus on the family upang abutin ang 200 million listeners worldwide. Sobrang dami nun. Sa pamamagitan ng radio, audiovisual at print materials. Naging isa itong malaking media ministry na ang tanging nais ay ang simulan ng pamilya ang pagbabago dala ng mabuting balita. Dahil rin dito, nabansagan si Dr. Dobson bilang isa sa mga pinaka-influential na evangelicals sa Amerika ng New York Times at Time Magazine. Ginawaran din siya ng titulong Layman's of the Year ng National Association of Evangelicals noong 1982 at napabilang sa National Radio Hall of Fame noong 2008. Bilang isang propeta din sa kanyang panahon, isang panahon kung saan sumiklab ang culture war sa Amerika. Nagsilbi si Dr. Dobson bilang advisor ng mga pangulo sa United States of America, kagaya ni President Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, at President Donald Trump. Isa rin siyang nabansagang kingmaker kung tawagin dahil sa kanyang pag-endorso ng mga kandidatong magsusulong ng Christian family values sa Amerika. Isa rin sa mga nagpasimula ng advokasya ng group na kung tawagin ay Family Research Council. Ang mga ito ay bahagi ng kanyang passion na dalhin ang kaharian ng Panginoon at ang family values sa makabagong kultura. Sa kabila nito, hindi maiwasan ni Dr. Dobson ang mga kontrobersya na nakadikit sa kanya dahil sa kanyang matinding pakikisangkot na rin sa politika na naging siyang tinatawag siyang divisive figure sa kasaysayan ng simbahan at lipunan ng Amerika. Dahil na rin sa kanyang prinsipyo, umalis siya sa focus of the family sa panahon na mayroon na silang hindi pagkakaintindihan ng kasalukuyang leader na si Jim Daly that time. Maayos naman niyang iniwan ni Dr. Dobson ang focus of the family at nagpasimula siya ng bagong kung tawagin ay family talk na siyang pagpapatuloy ng kanyang misyon na tulungan ang bawat pamilya sa kanilang relasyon kay Jesus at ang isa't isa. Sa kwentong ito, kung makikita natin ang buhay ni Dr. Dobson, natutunan natin na kailangan tumugon tayo sa tawag ng Panginoon ng buong puso. Kahit marami tayong kailangang iwanan. So sa bawat isa siguro sa atin na experience itong ganitong sitwasyon. At kahit mawala ang ating mga nakasanayan or ang mga comfort zone natin, kahit marami tayong mga pag-aalinlangan, naniniwala tayong kung ang Diyos ang siyang tumawag sa atin, hindi tayo pababayaan. at tayo'y kasamahan niya tungo sa tagumpay. At natutunan din natin dito sa buhay ni Dr. DOBSON na napakahalaga talagang unahin natin ang ating pamilya higit sa kanino man. Kasi itong family natin ang first ministry natin na regalo ng Panginoon at pinagkatiwala ng Panginoon sa atin. At higit sa kanino man na mga ninilid natin o yung mga mini-ministeryuhan natin, unahin natin ang ating family. Tayo po'y manalangin. Panginoon, salamat po sa gabing ito, Lord, na kami po ay inyo po pinatnubayan sa aming pag-aaral sa buhay ni Dr. DOBSON, Lord. Maraming salamat po lahat sa mga natutunan po namin sa wisdom, Lord, na ibinigay niyo po sa amin. Maraming salamat, Lord, at kayo po ang tumawag po sa amin para sa aming ministeryo, Lord, at tulungan niyo po kaming matanggap po ito ng bukal sa loob at may sa katuparan, may sa buhay po sa amin, Lord. At tulungan niyo din po kami, Lord, na mahalin po, Lord, ang unang ministeryo, Lord, na pinagkaloob niyo po sa amin, na ang aming family, Lord, ang una naming ministry, Lord, na higit sa lahat, Lord. At patawarin niyo din po kami, Lord, sa aming mga pagkukulang. Kung minsan, Lord, ay hindi po namin ganap na maintindihan, Lord, ang inyong pagkatawag sa amin, Lord. Tulungan niyo din po kami, Lord, na maintindihan, Lord, ang mga gusto niyo pong ipagawa sa amin, Lord, sa aming ministry, Lord, sa pinapagawa niyo po sa amin, Lord. Maraming salamat, Lord, at gumagamit po kayo ng mga tao kagaya ni Dr. DOBSON para maging inspiration po namin, Lord, sa aming paglago sa aming ministry, Lord. Ito po ang dalayan namin sa pangalan ni Jesus.